It was a very poor department because it wasn't popular, and so we only had a huge box of clay, and that was it actually. At that time it was that you wrote the projects, then you waited people to choose or not to choose your project, and when they chose this, then you had to start finding the money for producing, but also you had to find money to pay rent because you also had to pay rent. So you didn't get anything. It was ridiculous. And no one helped you to install. You also had to do the transportation, installation, everything. Yeah. I think even invitations, everything.
The opening drink.
Yeah, opening drinks, obviously. Now when I'm talking about this, it's just crazy, actually. Crazy. So this was the system, how it worked. She said that she has seen one church where is a hole on the floor. And then I was like, what did you just say? Can I go to see? And she managed to get me in there. And I was like, this is it. I was so overwhelmed in that room that my brain blew up. And and then I started all the work how to get this, because it wasn't an easy thing. It was a massive work. Every work just came exactly. I went where the crying women are. I went there. I saw, boom, those there. It was really, I was walking and everything just popped into my mind and eyes. I saw them there in the same moment I stepped into those rooms. So it was very quick, very clear what I want to do there. I still can't believe it. But it's true.
Welcome back to the Installation Art Podcast, the #1 show about installation art and the people who work with it. This show is dedicated to discussing the unique joys and challenges of working with this medium and uncovering stories from behind the scenes. I am Anastasia Parmson, and I am super excited about today's episode. If you remember, earlier this year, I had a chance to visit the Venice Art Biennale. You can hear my live recorded thoughts and ramblings from the exhibition in episode 13. My today's guest is the artist behind one of the most mind-blowing pavilions in the whole Venice Biennale this year. It's Estonian artist Edith Karlson. Her large-scale sculptures and installations have a recognizable style, often featuring animals and anthropomorphic figures. For me, her story is especially impactful because she came of age in the post-Soviet Estonia where I grew up, where there were no resources for the art community, no commercial art galleries, and no contemporary art museums. I am so proud and inspired to hear a story from an artist like Edith, who started in such underprivileged conditions and has nevertheless continued making large-scale work and received international recognition. Stick around to find out everything about the process of preparing such a monumental and super elaborate body of work that was the Estonian Pavilion this year. We were able to catch up on her home turf in Tallinn just a few weeks after the Biennale opening, so it was fresh on both our minds. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce Edith Karlson. Okay, I usually start with a few silly questions just to get warmed up.
Yes, very good.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how weird are you?
My main goal is to be as normal as possible. This is my everyday struggle, which means if I think logically, if my main goal is to be normal, I think it means that I'm struggling to be a normal person, which means that I suppose I am pretty weird, but I can't point out right now the specific weirdnesses because I think the whole package has it.
Do you have a favorite quote?
I wanted to say no, but actually there is, I think it's in Estonian. I don't know how to try. On nagu on.
It is what it is.
It is what it is, yes. this I can say this in one day thousands of times, I think. It is like it is.
I love that. I say that a lot, especially when it's install day and something's gone wrong.
Yeah. Somehow it's like about you're surrendering also, because sometimes you just have to admit that things are like they are and just let it be.
If you weren't an artist, what would you be?
Well, I guess something nature involved, ecology, nature. I don't know. I think I wouldn't be focused on the animals, but I would just something ecological kind of studies somewhere or something. Yeah, because this interests me.
Okay, let's get into your artistic parkour and start from the very beginning. Tell us about where you grew up and were you a creative kid?
I grew up in Tallinn, in Estonia, but I spent lots of time at my grandmother's place, which is in Viljandi. It's a small town in Estonia. I don't have any relatives who's been into art, any kind. I mean, like zero. So I had zero connection to art. I guess I didn't even think about it or know about it, anything. But what I had was that I had a neighbor called Maire, and she was working in some kind of place where they were doing postcards. Like, she wasn't an artist, but she was involved in printmaking. So she gave me my first oil pastels, and these were actually of course I have seen and used in a kindergarten pencils and wash paints, but those oil pastels, these were like something I have never heard or even seen. And then she showed me how to use them and talked about art to me and showed the postcards. And then my eyes kind of opened and I understood that there is art scene and it's possible to be an artist also. And I think I was like 6 or something like this when my eyes opened in that way. And then when I got those pastels, I remember I was drawing all the time. I had time to do that. So yeah, but no artists in my family.
And how did you end up deciding to study sculpture from there?
This was an accident. Maybe I would even explain why did I choose to go to art school at all. The thing is that I hated so much going to school. I was like every day, 12 years, I had this diary, where you put what lessons you have, like mathematics, history. Every day I scratched out a day and I was counting years and days and months. When is this going to end, this school? It wasn't because I wasn't a good student, but I just didn't like it. I didn't like the environment, the hierarchy there and people and so on. So it was a torture to me. And when I finished the school, I went to a party in art academy and I saw the environment there, I saw the people there, and I understood that this is the place I would like to spend my time among these people. I felt that this is the place I belong, and it didn't even matter what I'm going to learn there. So my goal was just to get into the art school, because I couldn't imagine myself, for example, to go this Tartu University, just sitting behind the table and listening something. And then I thought that I can draw, maybe printmaking would graphics. Be graphics would be a place to be. And I had a friend whose father was actually the head of fine arts in art academy, and I told him about the plan, and he said, Edith, don't go to this printmaking graphic department, because all the girls who think they can draw, they want to get in there. So it means that there's many people who want to get in. It's hard to get in and so on. And in first year in fine arts, anyway, it's together with painters, sculptors, and graphics. So he suggested me, try to get in through sculpture department, because if you get in, you can change easily later. So I listened to him and I got in, and I was the first year together with painters, graphics and sculptors. And at that time, sculpture department there were only those, I call them old school sculptors, but really skillful, the best best in our times who were teaching there, but they have been there like all their life. So it was kind of dying, this department, I think, at that time. And it was also a very poor department because it wasn't popular, and so we only had a huge box of clay, and that was it, actually. So there was nothing in this department going on. Even I remember constantly just being alone. We had possibilities to sculpt, which I'm so grateful, because I mean the real masters taught us, and I'm so grateful for that. But as it was in a so poor state, this department, and I think I'm like super stubborn also. I like to do things what others say that it's not a good idea. I think this is one of the weird parts of me. I'm very stubborn, and I somehow felt that this department, actually, it has possibilities. What you can do there is like endless, and I think I nailed it, and I never left the sculpture department. And yeah, I'm very happy because of this decision I made. Yeah.
How then did you get this crazy, audacious idea to start making such huge sculptures?
Well, the thing is that as I have this very traditional sculpture space, I'm sorry about my English. This is not my even third language, but maybe fourth, but I do my best. So I have this traditional base, and I remember when I did my first solo exhibition, I did this really freestyle sculpting. It was named Circus, and they were actually also my first large-scale sculptures I have made. The system, how I made them, was that I was using different kind of materials, what usually these days sculptors didn't use. I mean, they did use seraphim, because if you want to make larger scale sculptures, it's the easiest way to use seraphim because it's light and you can go as large as possible, it doesn't get so heavy. But I also used paper, which is this old school mentality was that sculptures should be made of materials that last forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I made things that didn't last forever. I really don't have them anymore, which is a pity, a little bit. So I did this freestyle sculpting, which means that I didn't measure anything. I didn't use even photos. I just made by head all those animals. And I really loved this because I somehow stepped away from this traditional sculpting system. But I still carry it in myself. And this is also why I think I have this urge to do large-scale things sometimes, because I have in my brain and body this admiration for this real, I'm doing this marks, how is it called? Quote marks, real sculpting-wise. But I have it in myself, and I'm like struggling, or I'm playing around with my own things and also these traditional things, I guess.
Did you have to kind of invent your own technique? And
yes, I did. I was inventing all the time, and I am still actually. This is one of the things what I do and always have done. It goes also back to this times we had only clay boxes because we didn't have even possibility to learn to make molds, because we didn't have even plaster because it was so expensive, which means that actually I learned myself to make molds when I had possibility to buy myself some plaster and so on, and no one taught me ever, which means that I have only through practice learned how to make molds. And also I have this major curiosity to all kind of materials, because the lack I had in my youth while I was studying. So I'm always experimenting with all kind of materials and having also fun because it keeps me, I guess if I would use only one material, I would in the end be very tired and also bored, because it's also a system to me to change techniques and materials just to have fun somehow also, because I get bored very easily if I do only the same kind of things all the time.
What's the most weird or difficult material you've had to work with?
Well, not weird, but the material which I really hate, I can say, is this resin. I love it, but I also hate it so much because I have been using it too many times and too long. But it has its own strengths because, again, if you want to go large scale and you want it to maintain, then there are so many positive things about this material, but it's so poisonous and it's so annoying to do, but still I can't get out of this system because I'm trying to find like alternative materials, but I'm afraid I still use this because you can go large and you can make very light things with it, and also you can color it and you can make transparent things, and so there are so many positive things about it, but I hate that it is so poisonous and it goes in your pores and but I still use it.
So how did you get into your first solo show opportunities?
Well, in Estonia, it was a very simple system. There's like not too many galleries at that time, and every year they called people to write their projects. But then at that time it was that you wrote the projects, then you waited people to choose or not to choose your project, and when they chose this, then you had to start finding the money for the producing part, but also you had to find money to pay rent because you also had to pay rent. So you didn't get anything. It's hilarious. And I'm so happy that this has changed so much from the time I started, because it was ridiculous. Yeah, you had to pay to do your exhibition, but also
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was like this. It was so ridiculous, and in the same time, you had to be grateful if you've been chosen to do the exhibition.
And at the same time, they weren't selling work.
No. Oh, no, and it was not very like. No one helped you to install. You also had to do the transportation, installation, everything. Yeah. I think even invitations and everything. It was everything.
The opening drinks.
Yeah, opening drinks, obviously. No one else. So I haven't even thought about it for such a long time. But now when I'm talking about this, it's just crazy, actually. Crazy. So respect all the artists who these times managed to make exhibitions and still survive. I mean, that was a lot. This was the system, how it worked. But I remember also that when I finished my master's in sculpture department, then in that moment I understood that, okay, now I don't have school, the supporting system behind my back, I'm alone now. It's very hard moment actually when you finish the art school and find yourself as an artist, but actually not an artist because you don't have any CV besides your school works. So then I understood that the only thing is to just apply as many exhibitions I can. And I remember I made minimum to myself like 2 exhibitions a year. So I had to do at least 2 solo exhibitions a year. And I think I did it. I think I made more than 2, but I really made it my goal because I understood that this is the only way I have to make this CV working and show up myself as a starting artist. Lots of work. And it still haven't ended, this lots of work.
Do you still apply for things now?
No, not anymore. But who knows, maybe after 2 years I'm going to apply myself to someplace. But right now I have managed, I think it was like half a year or more ago when I understood that I haven't applied any exhibitions for years now. So maybe it's this point now because I have never had this time when I sit down and think back what I have gone through, where I have been and where I am now. And actually, again, when I talk here, I understood that maybe I should be a little bit happy also right now that I have managed to do it like this far now, that at least I don't have to write those applications to make an exhibition, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's great. And you haven't stopped working, really, essentially.
No.
You've had shows regularly.
Yeah. But, as this freelance artist, it's never ending. You always have to say yes to everything because you depend on every project you actually do. But this also leads you to this overworked, tired person, which
burned out.
Which also leads you at some point to the point that you have to ask yourself that maybe you have to figure it out somehow to do your thing so that you just have some time in the year that you rest also, because it can't be forever like this, that you're like zero breaks and you're only working every day, morning till night.
Have you ever said no to an opportunity?
Well, because I did Venice now, then I understood that this is the opportunity to say no, because otherwise it would have been impossible. So thanks to Venice project, I said no to many things actually, and it was surprisingly satisfying feeling, I must say.
Something new for you.
Yeah, it is.
So let's talk about the Venice Biennale project. How did that even come about? Did you apply for that?
Yes, actually, this was a project, but there was a but because I was invited. If there wouldn't come any letters to me that I have to do this, because I had some friends who said that do it, you have to do it, then I wouldn't have done this, because Venice Biennale has never been my goal, because I had so many other things also on my plate to do, and it's not only applying, but it's also you have to compete. It's a competition also, and at that time I wasn't in this position that I felt that I want to do this or I even need to do this, because I really had some other things going on. So I had some people telling me that please write this application now and send it away. And then I was chosen. I don't remember, it was 7 maybe artists who were chosen, 7 maybe more. And then for my very big surprise, so the system was that as they didn't have any rooms, you didn't have to do anything else than just apply and say that I want to be in this. And you had to show your portfolio and CV, and that was it. So
you didn't have to present any kind of project idea?
No.
Wow.
And it was first time in the history that it was this way, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But it's totally understandable for me, I mean, because they didn't have any room, like I said, and I think it's pretty... especially if you're doing room-specific installations, that I don't know, it's possible to just make a project if you don't have a room. Also, I know it's possible, but I think in that case it makes sense that they don't ask any project, because if you have to present your project, it means that sometimes things change during the time, and it was 2 years before the Venice Biennale, and the time was so hectic and everything. I think it was a smart decision not to ask a project, because actually if you look the portfolio and the CV and you meet a person, then the jury understand if she or he is capable to do it anyway. I think it's not necessary to propose finished project in that case. But like I said, I was very surprised if I was in the end chosen, because it was an international jury who chose the artist, and they came to my studio, and I also knew that others had already something in their mind, some projects, what they want to work with. And I didn't have anything. I just said that I had made this and those kind of things, and probably it just grows out from my last projects, because actually every project grows out of my last ones. And this is like this pattern how I work usually. And the thing is that the other artists were all so strong, and I admired everyone there, and so I was surprised. But of course I was happy, but I was like really surprised. I didn't accept this at all. I must say I was 100% sure that I'm not going to be the one who's chosen and the one who is going to do it. But it happened, and then we started to find a place where to do the Venice Biennale. Yeah, that's the story.
So you had 2 years notice before the exhibition opened.
Yeah.
How long did it take to find the venue?
Very long, because at first the last exhibition wasn't even they installed, the last one. So I went there and I just checked out the last project they had and just got the vibe in my body, the Venice vibe. And then I think we started like a year and a half to go there to find places, and we had local people there who helped us. And the thing is that at first I think I was a hard client in that sense that I didn't have any idea what I was going to do there. Like I had zero thoughts. I had only one work in my mind that I just had to choose something as a base, because otherwise it would have been a little bit too like open. I had this one mermaid I had made. I had one of them and I knew that I want to make more of them. And I thought that it would suit in Venice very well. So I had this one work, and with this one work in my mind, I started to look the spaces, and we went through so many rooms, so many fantastic rooms with so good locations and so on. But there were always something that didn't really click. And like I said, I was a hard client because I couldn't say out loud what I actually searched. So all the people, they just throw out on the plate all kind of palazzos, white cubes, everything. And at some point we found a very nice place in Santa Helena. It used to be a bar and it was abandoned. Also it has this abandoned vibe. All the things were still there but also dusty, and then we already started to make the deal that we go there, and we were so happy. But then happened so that the owners got the license to do the renovations because they had been waiting it for years. And then, of course, when we were so happy to use those rooms as a pavilion, they got good news that they can start with the renovations. So we lost this room, and it was a little bit depressing to me because time was already ticking, because I also know how long it does take me to do my work. And I still didn't have room, so we started again from zero. And then we went back there and found this church. I was talking with people there. So Valeria was listening me, and she said that she has seen one church where is a hole on the floor. And then I was like, oh, what did you just say? Can I go to see? And she managed to get me in there. I remember so well when I entered the room where is the hole, and it was full of water, the hole, and Vaporetto passed by, and then the water was moving there, and I was like, this is it. I was so overwhelmed in that room that my brain blew up. And but at the same day, we had so many other places to go also because we had made the appointments. And I remember so well when we went to see the other places, then I was only thinking about this church. I just pretended that I'm looking at other places also, but actually it was decided that it has to be this room, and then started all the work how to get this, because it wasn't an easy thing, because it really belongs to Catholic Church, and there were so many people working with all kind of papers to get it, and it was a massive work. And it's also, the church is so fragile, you can't touch anything there without breaking. It's like a sand castle, actually. When we were installing it, it's also, if you touch a wall, already sand is coming down. So it's a very, very difficult place in that sense, because it's also under the protection. And so there's so many difficult aspects with this room, actually.
So it wasn't like, here's a huge list of places that you can use for your pavilion.
No.
Pick one.
No.
You just had to fight to get.
Yeah, it was work to many people, and we really did it well. We all have to congrat us. I mean, all the team worked so hard to get it. And also what I have been thinking, that they really, no one ever said, drop this idea. Let's find some easier place. They were all trusting me so much that they did with their whole soul and love and passion to get through and get the rooms. And it's fantastic. It's like, wow. To work in this way is a gift that you can't get too often, actually. So I'm so grateful for this opportunity, and to all those people.
Well, it was a perfect setting for your work. So did you actually build the whole exhibition project around the space? You started with the space and one mermaid.
Yeah. It started with the space and one mermaid. But the thing is that when I stepped into the room with the hole, then I saw mermaids, and then I started to walk around, and it was it was something very weird. Every work just came exactly. I went where the crying women are. I went there. I saw, boom, those there. It was really, I was walking and everything just popped into my mind and eyes. I saw them there in the same moment I stepped into those rooms. So it was very quick, very clear what I want to do there in that sense. But I'm only talking about those centerpieces, but there's like hundreds of small pieces also. They came during the process, but the centerpieces, they literally came in the same moment I stepped into the rooms, actually. I didn't have to like think about or work too much, I mean, to come up to those things, actually, what I want to put there. I know, I still can't believe it, but it's true.
So how long did it take you from starting the first piece to actually having like, okay, I'm ready to pack everything into the transport?
Well, in the end, I started in August, and the transportation was in March.
That's it?
Yeah.
Like 6-7 months?
Yes. But it was literally no weekends, no nothing. It was like morning till night without breaks. So that was something. And I wasn't working alone, obviously. I had a huge team, but this was... I have been working before with teams. I have made stage designs to theaters, and I love working with team. And I have made large projects before also. It's not a new thing to me. But this was a little bit more because I had freedom to use more people in that case. But, you know, if you have more people, then there's a responsibility towards the people who work to you also. And this is another topic, that it takes so much energy to be
the leader.
The leader. It's so...
How did you go about finding the team?
It went also easily because actually I already have worked with those people before, and they are the best people around to have. They're like so skillful, and I trust them with every cell of my body. So it went very fluently and easily, and that was no problem. But this is also, I think, with this project, what is very important to me, that it's a very difficult project. It was very, very difficult. It was very expensive and all those things, but there was really zero moments that anyone didn't get along well. There were zero conflicts. I mean, zero. And everyone was so focused to do what they do, and everyone believed in me. Again, somehow they believed and trust me, and I trusted everyone. So it went so fluently. And also the installation period, we installed this little bit more than 3 weeks there on the place every day, 8 hours a day. And in there, it was a very small team. There were like 7 people. And again, there was like zero breakdowns, zero. It went so unbelievably perfectly that it's weird, actually, because I'm a pessimistic person. I'm always afraid that something always goes wrong and something always happens, always. But then with this, zero. I'm like, maybe we have still day installation coming, but we will see.
Well, I mean,
still have time because it's still
the
running.
exhibition goes for so long. There's plenty of room.
So there's still room. Lots of things to happen, but we'll see. Yeah.
So tell me about the logistical process. You have some gigantic pieces and you have just so many little details. Did you actually think ahead, oh, I'll put these little plates here and I'll put that over there? Or did you just make like a whole ton?
No, this was also what made this project difficult to me, because I had those, like I said, centerpieces. They were solid. I knew where to put them, but all the other things, we were just making them like 9 till day. We were doing and producing the things what I had in my mind. And honestly, at some point I was so confused, because I knew that I have so many things that I didn't have any idea how or where I'm going to put them. But what I did was that when I entered the church first time and I was walking there around, then I recorded the feeling what I had inside, and all those 6-7 months I was carrying this. This was also a work, how to carry this feeling inside me that I had there. I had this confidence also because I loved those rooms so much that I knew that even if I put one tiny thing there, the rooms are so good and they do their work themselves so good that I had this confidence that whatever I do, in the end, it works because of the rooms. This special feeling what I had when I entered the room, like I said, I carried it during all the process I was doing those things. So it's very, very feeling-based project, and very difficult to describe the process that way also, because then I had the ideas what I'm doing, and sculpting, modeling, molding, doing those things, and then all the things started to get ready and so on. And there were so many things that I sometimes even forgot some things that I had already done, because I don't have that much room in my studio. I was using all the sculpture department and all the studios there, and some pieces were even lost, and I really even forgot some of the pieces because there were so many things all the time going on. I was at some point so tired and nervous. I remembered that I recorded the feeling that I have to be self-confident whatever I do, and I have to carry it until the end and not to get nervous if at some point I don't understand why I did this thing now, because I forgot also why I did this and this. I just had to trust somehow this recorded feeling and just do. It's a very mental thing what I'm telling there, because I'm telling I can't even explain this, how I rolled through this. It's crazy. Even right now, I don't understand how I did it right now. It was just too crazy. Yeah.
But you even did like a custom floor.
Yes.
In one of the rooms.
Yeah, I did.
You made that ahead of time.
Yeah. This, and also the bed is custom made because it's very tiny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah. But the transportation and and all this logistic. I was so lucky that actually I didn't have to worry about this at all, because we had Tõnu and Mihkel, who have been always involved in Venice projects, and they always do this transportation logistic-wise things, and they're so professional that everything fit into one huge
container.
Container, yeah.
Wow.
So everything fit there.
Amazing.
I know. I was looking at it, and I was also a little bit amazed, but we did it. So I said it all went fluently in that case.
Yeah, we were looking at it wondering, how did they get these things through the door? Like, where's the joint?
Yeah, we had our secret tricks there.
Trade secrets.
Yeah.
That's quite impressive. Just the sheer amount. And then you had also people contributing.
Yeah, that's another crazy moment, because I had more than 200 people during the crazy process where we were all so busy doing the other pieces, and in the same time we were having those workshops where people made portraits. And it sounds like an easy thing, but actually it was this organizing it, because you had to prepare clay, because I was using this special gray clay which is used to make red bricks. We even did this by ourselves, and to make clay is hard work, and so
make your own clay.
Yes, we made our own clay also from scratch. So we made our life so difficult because of those decisions, but in the end this clay, it plays such a big part in this installation, because it has this robustness I like, and all the things that happened in the oven, all the portraits that went into the kiln where I baked them, and then all the things happened in the kiln. I mean, some of them exploded and some of them broke, and all those scratches and things, and it wouldn't happen if I would have used some so-called professional pottery clay. So we had to make this earthy brick clay. I had to use this. And one fun fact about this clay is also that when we burnt it, it's staked out from North Estonia, and there's inside all those who knows how many million years old like leftovers of organisms. So if the clay is burning, all the smell that comes out is so different from all because it's like you can feel this million years old organism somehow like burning there also. So it's very thick of all kind of layers, and the material and the way of doing those things. And I mean, all the people who came, I'm so grateful who came. There were children, there were old people. The scale of people were from 0 to 100, basically, which was, that's definitely one of my favorite works actually there, because the contribution of the people who came.
But it sounds like a challenge to manage the public.
It was multitasking also, and I am not a multitasking person. I'm not doing this well, but in that period I was doing it like all the time. So it's amazing.
After an exhibition ends, what happens to the work?
Well, I do hope that it doesn't go to the storage. Right now, actually, the work is not finished yet because it's still on, and in the beginning of July, hopefully the catalog comes out also. There's a reason why it wasn't ready for the opening. People who have seen this maybe understand that it wouldn't have been possible to do it beforehand.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why it comes in the beginning of July. So we are working with the catalog right now, and also already working with this afterlife of this project. We're trying to find the possibilities where or how it could be shown some other places maybe. But my dream, I think it would be a nice thing to show it also in Estonia in some places, but this means that we should find a proper place for this. And it's a difficult project because it's really custom made for this church there.
Yeah.
So we will see. It's again difficult thing. But right now, I must admit that I'm still so fragile with this that it's even a little bit hard to me to imagine or even actually work with the idea to transport it somewhere and to open my heart to another possible location. You know, I have put so much into it, so I have to give time to me to
press from
yes,
it.
Exactly. So.
Yes. I cannot imagine. Hey, this is a quick intermission to let you know that this show is also on YouTube, where you can see the artists' facial expressions and maybe even some images of their work. If you're loving this episode so far, share it with a friend who might also enjoy it. I'll let you get back to the story. How are you feeling right now, a month and a bit after the opening of Biennale?
Fun fact is that after the opening, I had like 1 week for holidays when I was so tired that I had the most fantastic 1 week holiday, but I was so tired that I tried to just sleep because also I couldn't sleep during the installation and opening period. And when I arrived back, I started to work. Like there's no tomorrow. So I haven't actually yet been in this holiday mood yet, but I hope that July is my holiday, whole month at least.
What would you like the audience to take away from experiencing that work?
I can't even say what. I can say maybe what I hope. I do hope that if they go there, they will have some time there, because it needs time to observe all the things. You can't go there just to run through, because there's so many things and aspects to see and feel. And what I hope is, what I always hope with my other projects also, that if someone goes there and if there's at least little bit some feelings, like something touches somewhere, something you can't even explain, then I feel that I did my job well somehow. But I want to say that if it feels something inside, I mean, just even if you stop looking one thing for a little bit longer, or you listen a little bit, or you just let go of your other thoughts, what you maybe had before you went into the room, then I think the work is working, and that's it. I think just a little bit something moves, then it's already very good.
I'm fairly certain that it achieves that, because there's the music, there's the light, and then there's all the little hidden details. Like wherever you look in that church is like, oh, and there's that little thing there, and there's this there. You look up, you look down. Everywhere is some kind of hidden work, or not even hidden, or like the flowers by the door that aren't just flowers.
Yeah.
You know, there's surprises everywhere.
Yeah, I sincerely think that even if person is not exactly into art or not interested, then again, I think the room itself, it's so strong, and this like disappearing vibe, this glory that has been already starting to disappear, and it has this something special that even if you look at the floors or the walls itself are like an artwork there, like all the marble, how it's already going into the powder. There's so much. I think you have to be a robot not to see at least one thing that interests you or catches your eye. At least for me. I mean, like I said, for me it would have been enough only to see the room already to get this certain feeling. It does something. Even the temperature in the church I loved. I just remembered. It was everything perfect.
I have to ask, in the room with the hole in the floor, there's like a little pipe or something above the hole with water dripping.
Yeah.
Was that an existing thing? You added
that? We made it. This was also, in that room was those mermaids and the dripping water. This was also always been there, the first moment, basically, that it has to be to drip, drip, drip. Yeah.
Tell me, how do you approach the commercial aspect of your work? Do you have a gallery you work with?
Yeah, I am presented by Temnikova Kasela Gallery, and I have been working with them for a very beginning of their existence, and our relationship has been always like it's about trust and not worrying, and we have been working so long that it's even hard to me describe how it works because it's so organic somehow, I must say. I'm super grateful that they are here with me. We are going to Liste also with Temnikova and Kasela, and after I finish talking I will run to I'm right now using all the kilns I can in Tallinn, so I'm like driving around and collecting my pieces around the town, and then I go to my studio to pack the things.
So what are you making for that?
For that I'm making one piece I actually already made before, but it belongs to Olga Temnikova, so I made a new one. It's a chandelier and also some bas-reliefs are going and some storks. And I'm doing this together with Flo Kasera, so it's not a solo but duo booth.
And when's the deadline?
Monday, and Tuesday it goes away. But like I said, that everything is ready but still not fired, so it's like running around and a little bit stressful to me.
So you haven't actually stopped at all?
No. But I must admit that I'm on the edge right now.
Do you have anything else that's on the calendar after this?
Yes, there are 3 projects that has been paused because of Venice Biennale, and I have to finish them. There are small ones but important ones, and I need to do those, but I understood that this July has to be a resting time, those small projects, and then there are many future things right now what I'm dealing with. In Vilnius, October, there's going to be a huge event in there. There's going to be my pieces. But now I remember one very important thing, that I'm going in September for 3 weeks for a residency, which I haven't been more than 9 years because I had a child, and with the child it's very, very impossible to go to residencies and so on, and now I'm doing it. I'm very excited about this.
What residency?
In South France. It's called Launchpad. 3 weeks. But I see if I'm able to produce anything, maybe it's this time where I have to use just to clear my minds, maybe.
Sounds good to me.
I know. South France, amazing.
Can you tell me about a particularly rewarding or transformative experience you've had as an artist throughout your artistic career?
Actually, yeah, I do have. Okay, this was, again, freelance artist in Estonia, where we are such a young country and art is not the first thing what people need here, let's be honest. So it's a pretty hardcore job to do in this country, but it's even more hardcore if you're a woman, freelance artist, and you have a child, and you're a sculptor. You're doing heavy things, and I'm not that large scale sculptures. So when I had a child, I actually was so, I must say that I was terrified that how I am going to continue as I used to, and how would it work. And I was so stressed and so anxious about all this. But I must say that if I wouldn't have my child, I think I wouldn't be where I am right now also, because this determinedness and the strength that my son gave me is amazing. I was so afraid that it somehow ruins my, not, there wasn't any career, but it ruins my path somehow to get somewhere in my career, or if you understand what I mean. But it was unnecessary because it did the opposite, actually. So all these difficulties makes people strong. And to be a woman artist with a child is difficult. And if you can manage working in this situation, then I think sky is the limit.
Pretty much.
Yep.
Yes.
So
If you can keep working and having projects in those circumstances.
Yeah. So this has been lesson to me. I have learned so much of it. And I think I have this freedom to say that if you don't have a child and you are an artist, then you can't compare with the artists who have children. It's like a night and day difference, because I can't do things like I will go and do it. You can't do anything like this. It's so different, so different. You're not free person anymore. So yeah, It's very hard also.
You're not the first person who has
Yeah.
said this, yeah.
And I'm not even talking about if you would have more children, because I have only one, and I know how hard it is, but there are some artists who have even more than one and still working and doing such a great art. And but I can't, I'm like, oh my God, full respect.
Yeah, one of my guests I had on had like a full-on nervous breakdown when he had his first kid while also working hardcore.
I can imagine that happening. Yeah, I can see it may happen indeed.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
What's a hard truth you've had to learn and swallow as an artist? A bitter pill to swallow.
I think there's so many actually, but fortunately I forget them all. Maybe I think, like I mentioned, this being an artist in Estonia, where art is not that much valued, especially the time I started. Right now I think it's changing. I see so much improvements. I actually remember the time when I thought that my eyes will not see the time when people will value art at all, like seriously. But I now see that it's changed a lot. And I think we also have to thank for that actually galleries. I mean, they do a great job, especially Temnikov and Kasala, who was the first gallery. And I think they have really changed the all scene here a lot.
Like trailblazers.
Yeah, they have changed it.
So there's more galleries like them cropping up now.
Yeah, there's so many coming right now, and I'm so surprised, like positively. But I think Temnikova made it happen somehow. She opened this word in here. So what I wanted to say, that, like I said, that probably my eyes don't see when people start valuing artists and art at all. So I think the first bitter moment was this, when I realized that I have studied years and years, think that probably will never bring me any money. It's forever going to be my passion and hobby, and it's going to be forever a struggle. And it's even though I can somehow manage, it's still hard because days are different and so on. But it's still there, this knowing that my life is never going to be easy, that I will always be worried about how to pay my bills, how to pay all the costs my child needs and so on, because it's a struggle and it will be forever because of my my job. And also that it's a hard job, also physically demanding, and I already feel that my body is a little bit not functioning anymore like it used to, so I have to always be a little bit scared of my future somehow. And that's sad, actually. Even if I feel right now that maybe I'm doing good, I always have this panic inside my body. That's the hard truth in here.
Always scared for the future.
Always, and it's so tiring.
Do you have any rituals or something you do in the studio before you start working or after?
Well, I used to have. Right now, it's been so intense that I don't have time anymore, the rituals, but usually I have always started with cleaning, because it can't be opposite. I can't do it in the end of the day, because in the end of the day I'm so tired that I just can't do it. So I do opposite. I go to my studio and then I clean it up and then I can start working. So it's been like this way for years in my studio. And this work I do, it's so dusty and so dirty that there's always something to clean, and it's impossible to enjoy this clean room more than a couple of hours. Usually it's like, yeah.
Do you sometimes think, I wish I had gone into, I don't know, watercolors?
Oh, yeah. Very often, by the way, because, when you get tired, then it's so physically demanding and takes so much time and efforts, and it gets me pretty often when I feel that why I didn't choose anything, I don't know, whatever, lighter somehow. But also I know that I can't. I have been painting also, drawing and so on, and I love it for a day or two, but then I already trying to find some clay or plaster, whatever materials to do something else, like larger. Yeah. I can't help it.
Can't help it.
Yeah.
Do you have an unrealized project in the back of your mind that just needs some little extra resource or something to make it happen?
Honestly, right now, no, because I'm still so involved with this Hora Lupi that there has been zero space to other photos. Actually, there is, because I'm also doing music with my partner, and because I have some time now, I'm switching myself to music from next week. So we need to make some new songs. So this is what I'm waiting actually forward, because it's also like resting time. I mean, physically, I rest and use some other parts of my mind because it's a little bit different. So this is the project what we are going to work.
Have you ever thought of combining the music work you do into your installation work?
But actually in Hora Lupi I'm singing.
Ah, yeah, that's you.
That's me, yeah.
Wow.
That's me and my partner, we arranged.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's me. When we are going to probably do this vinyl also for Hora Lupi.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, so this is also, so I have done it.
Love that. That's really cool. What advice would you give to somebody who's thinking of getting into large-scale sculpture?
Well, think about it. Think about it twice at least. Do you really want to do it? Are you capable? Because I think all artists, it's not only about installation and sculpture, but I think all artists have to be workaholics, because otherwise you can't be an artist. You have to work a lot, and you have to do it like most of the time, and you can't be a lazy person. And if you feel that you are a workaholic and don't want to rest or don't want to have holidays, then installation and sculpture and to be an artist is your thing.
Yeah, if you feel like you're fine with putting your work first before everything else.
Yes, then
go for it.
Go for it. Enjoy.
Good luck.
Yes. And no regrets after.
Have you ever thought that you just want to quit art and do something else?
When I was studying in master's last years, then I had those nervous breakdowns about what I'm going to do, because I understood that the future is not friendly with me. And then I tried some kind of jobs, and I'm happy that I did this because of trying those jobs. I was an administrator for a sport club. I was also an assistant for a beauty salon. So I have tried serious jobs before, but it made me very, very clear that I'm doing the right thing, what I am doing to be an artist, because then I had this salary every month and all this stability what I was dreaming about, which you don't have if you're an artist, the serious stability. There's the beauty and the pain of this work. But then I understood very clearly that I can't do a daily job like this, that it's impossible. I quit them even without asking the salary. I just escaped those places and went to my studio and understood that I do whatever I have to do to live as an artist. It taught me that this is what I am actually and what I want to do also. Maybe those jobs were not just for me also, but I still think that I made this decision to be an artist, and as long as possible I carry on like that.
I hear ya.
Yep.
So, of course, people can go to Venice to, what is the name of the church?
Chiesa del Penitenti.
Yeah. You have to go there. If you're listening and you're planning on going to Venice, it's a must-see. It's, I dare say, in the top 3 best pavilions of this Biennale.
Thanks.
No, it is. If you're into site-specific installation, it's just a great experience. And I don't praise my guests' work this openly much.
Okay.
So I was very impressed. But where can people find out more about your work, maybe buy your work, get that vinyl, get that catalog?
Well, probably even the best place to see my work and to get to know, and if someone wants to buy, then there's one and only Temnikova and Kasela gallery, and also Art Development Center, the CCA, who actually is doing the Venice Biennale, who is dealing the biennales in Estonia.
They're kind of the producer of that
producer,
pavilion.
and on their page you can actually find the list of Estonian artists. If someone is interested in artists in Estonia, then in their webpage they have this list of Estonian artists. I think it's a good suggestion also.
What about your band?
My band, we have one vinyl produced by Sad Fun Production. Sad Fun. And you can buy it from Bandcamp.
What about social media?
Well, I have Instagram, but I'm so bad with it because I'm not using actually this as a professional platform. I'm lucky, I think. I'm not a professional Instagram user. I'm using it like an old lady, putting some. So I'm using as a personal account, which means that you can see their art.
Your dogs are on
dogs, art, and my life maybe in my country house, but sometimes I also put, for example, making of photos, which I think might be very interesting actually. And I even don't actually have a web page, which is like hilarious and so on, but I know that if someone wants to see my works, then if you put into some searching platform Edith Karlson, then there's lots of pictures of my works coming out anyway, and there's always Temnikova and Kasela Gallery and CCA. So there are platforms where if you really want to see my works and to have information, then there are, but I am not running. Maybe this is where my limit goes. I can't do all those self-PR,
the marketing
thing. Mm-hmm. This is my red line. This is where I do my mic drop.
I think it's great because when I look up artists to interview, there's like a very specific line of known successful artists who have been around for a while, who are represented by like really high-end galleries. They never have a website, because they don't need to have it. They don't have social media. So you're basically in that camp.
Well, good to know, because I have always felt that maybe this is a bad thing. But like I said, things are like they are.
It is what it is.
It is what it is, yes.
Well, I will put the links to the CCA listing and the gallery, everything in the show notes anyway, everything we discussed today, so people can just click.
Fantastic.
And find all the things.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Edith, for coming, and thanks for making time in your crazy schedule.
Thank you for asking me to come. It was a pleasure.
That was Edith Karlson, based in Tallinn, Estonia. You can find out more about her work on the Estonian Center for Contemporary Art website, cca.ee, and on her Instagram at Edith_Karlson, that's EDITH_KARLSON. And if you're going to Venice, you have to see her amazing installation, Hora Lupi, at Chiesa delle Penitenti. It's open Tuesdays to Sundays from noon to 8 p.m. until 24th of November 2024. Edith is represented by Temnikova Kasela Gallery. She's also in a band called Vana. You can buy their digital album on Bandcamp. Links to those, as well as everyone else mentioned in this episode, are in the show notes and on our website, installationartpodcast.com. If you like this episode, please help us spread the word. Share the episode with a friend who might also enjoy it. And of course, the best way to show your support is by leaving us a 5-star review. You can do this on the show page in Apple Podcasts or in Spotify. This helps our rating and it helps other people find the show. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time.